Congratulations, you have made it to the end of the video series. In this specific last video, number 9 video, we're going to talk about banners and headers. So you've learned how to create catchy text, catchy shapes, you've learned layers, you've learned how to, remove a object or anything else from a background. Let's take all of that and let's create a banner and let's create a header. Banner, header could be the same thing. It just uses the same concept, so we're just going to create one of those. So you're going to take pretty much everything that you have learned to create a header and a banner. So what I'm going to do, what I did was I found a bunch of these banners here, and we're going to try to create something like this. So the first thing you need to do is, of course, to create a new image. And instead of the regular 800 by 600, I'm going to uncheck this and create the width to be, let's say, we'll just say 800, or we'll say 800 by 350. And I kind of want to, I'm going to change that. I'm going to resize that to be about 950 and then by 250 because I want it to be wider. Alright, so I'm going to move these to the side. So the most important ones would be the layer and the tools. Okay, so learning what I taught you previously, we're going to use text, we're going to kind of create some shapes, and so as we can see here, you've got a background, you've got some text, you have some jagged lines to create some shapes, kind of like call outs, and then you have a picture. So normally with banners you have one picture or maximum 2 pictures and then text and some shapes that surround that. So the first thing we want to have is a background and a picture. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and open up the picture that we removed from the background with a little 3D little guy connected to his books. So I'm going to use this here. Oops. And we just want to import him as a layer. So I click on layer, I'm going to import from file, and then I'm going to find that file, which is test.pdn, and click on open and import that layer. Now I don't really care much about the black background, so I'm going to uncheck that. And in fact, I'm going to delete that background. And I'm going to zoom out. And I kind of want to resize this photo. So I'm just going to make it smaller as such. And I want the background, of course, to be resized. I don't know why it changed that, but I want to change it back to 950 by 250. So we have that. And then, as you can see, like I'm doing right now, if you grab one of these corners, you can resize it yourself and just do that. Now with the background, I might want to change the background a little bit. So for example, okay, when we look over here, you don't really see a really solid background. You kind of see a background with kind of shapes on it or some sort of gradient. So what I'm going to do is, let's say that I want to make the background. Let's change the background a little bit. So let's change the background in this case to be, let's see here. Let's just make sure that everything is white right now. And I'm just trying to cover all this stuff with white in the background. Okay. So I've got a white background, playing with a white background, and let's say that I want to, I'll just make this guy disappear because I'm dealing with the background right now. So the first thing we want to do is deal with the background. And the question is, do you want the background to change where the little guy is standing? We notice here that we have images, and let's see. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shape. First, I'm going to create a shape, and I'm going to make that background change. So when doing that, you want to use layers. So I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to add a new layer, and with this layer I'm going to create a shape. So kind of like as you see here, like don't miss the chance. They've got a shape here, and then they fill that shape with a different color, and the rest of the color we have a different, you know, background color. So I'm going to create a shape, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an ellipse, like a, I need to make that black just so I can see what it looks like. And then maybe I'm going to do something like that where I've got an ellipse, and I'm going to fill that ellipse with a solid color. So I kind of want to redo that. I'm going to change my brush width to about that color. So I'm just going to do that. And I think I want to move this a little closer. Okay, yeah, I'm going to move that here. And after that, I want to maybe turn that shape into, let's say that we're going to make it like a blue, like a light blue. So once I've found a color that I want to use, I'm going to use that, and then I'm going to fill this shape with this color. And then as you can see here, I'm dealing with 3 different layers. I'm dealing with this layer, which is the shape, and then I'm dealing with the background. So now I want to change the background to something like red or something. So let's choose red, but I want a dark red. I don't want a, you know, like a, not too dark, but so once you find that red that you want, let's say that I'm going to use this so that I can kind of get a darker red to it. So I want a dark red, but I don't want it too dark. Alright, so I want that color. So I'm going to take this and dump it in here. And And there's a red line there, so I'm going to select it and crop it. Alright, so that disappears. I'm going to make that little guy reappear by selecting the layer here. Aha, okay, good. Alright, good. So I have that done there. And then let's say that I want to change the background because I'm selecting this red area. So I want to use some sort of effect to create something like a different texture or add noise, or let's see here, add noise, add color, add blur. Maybe I want to do some sort of blur, but not too much of a blur. So I might do a motion blur, but not too much. Let's see. I'm not trying to make anything too wacky. If I change the texture to look like this, it's going to look too wacky, and I don't want it to look too wacky because you want to try to keep with something simple. So maybe I'll add some noise, not too much noise. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to add some text. Let's say that I'm selling books. Let's see here. And since I'm on a red background, and so I've used something, removed backgrounds, we're using layers, we created shapes. Now we're going to add text. So I don't have my color wheel, so I'm going to go to Window and click on Colors so I can see my color wheel. Click on Less and make sure that I choose white because use that, and then I'm going to add some text. I don't want it to be too big. I'm going to make it size 26, and then I'm going to say 20% off all books. And then 4 days only. And I want to center that. I want to make this a little bigger, not too big. And I can change the font. You don't want to get too fancy with your font when you're creating headers. So something sans serif. Something somebody can see that's easy, quick and easy to see. So we could use something like that. And there we go. It's not too fancy, but as you can see, that's pretty easy to create banner ads. So I'm going to move this to the side so that you can see the end results. And we've basically taken this little guy from the background, plopped him on there, added a shape, made that shape a color, so it's a layer on top of the red layer background, and we created a textual layer as well right there. And if you want to change the text, you can always do that. But just keep in mind the goal is to create layers. The more layers you create, the better and easier it's going to be to edit. So let's say you put this layer on top of all these layers. Then when you go back to changing it, it's going to be a problem. So make sure you use those layers, because layers are your friends. And that's it. You can use the same concept to create headers of any size or banners of any size. As long as you keep with the concept that you use at least 1 or 2 images, 1 text, a different shape, and a background, you're pretty much good to go.